Welcome to Ben Buzz. I'm Benny King, and what an incredible week of college football we have ahead of us. I mean, you can go through the games, and it's just banger after banger after banger. And I'd still say week 1 is the best week, and then week 3 had the potential to be the best, but then a lot of the games kind of fell on their face, notably Illinois-Indiana, which was a disaster. I mean, Indiana won by 53 points in a game that was supposed to be close. I mean, Indiana was 19th, and then Illinois was 9th, and it was a blowout. So it was kind of unfortunate. Still some really solid performances and a lot of solid games last week, but this week is huge. And obviously conference play is really in full swing this week, where we had a little bit where it was Georgia, Tennessee, and then we got a little bit more week after week, but now this is really is breaking through, and we got a lot of good games. And I'm really excited to go through them all. And I mean, there's so many upset-hungry teams, and I mean, honestly, a lot of these games could really go either way, and that's what I'm really the most excited about, is that all these games, it's like, I made my picks here, but I'm like, I don't know. I could easily see a lot of these going the other way. All right, now first we got number 22 Notre Dame versus Arkansas. Now, this is a very interesting one. Notre Dame finally won a game last week against Purdue, and I know it's an easy thing to say. It's like, they finally won a game, but when you look at their schedule, they lost to a Miami team close. It's now number 2 in the country, and they lost to a Texas A&M team close. That is now the number 9 team in the country, so it's like, you can kind of see how they lost those games, and they were in each of them, and you can make the argument that they probably should have won that Texas A&M game, and I mean, they tied it in the fourth quarter against Miami, so they really had the potential to win that one, and then you look at a team like Arkansas on the other side, very interesting, and Arkansas is one of those teams where I know they haven't done anything super impressive, but when you look at who they played against a Ole Miss team on the road and barely lost. Like, they were very much in that game and barely lost. Then the very next week, they go on the road at Memphis and barely lose again, where it's like they're not winning these games, but they're getting very, very close on the road, where it's like now, I don't know, where you look at Notre Dame, where they're kind of frauds at number 22 because they've only won one game, and none of their wins are impressive, where it's like, and now they're home? I don't know, which is why I could see Arkansas pulling this one off. I can't say that. I honestly could see this. This is one of the ones that I really wanted to pull the trigger on in terms of upsets, but I couldn't do it. I feel like Notre Dame really understands that they can't slip up anymore, and I feel like they're going to win. But I do give Arkansas an edge, and probably to cover, where I think Notre Dame's going to win 35-32. Next, we had number 16 Georgia Tech going on the road at Wake Forest. Now, this one could be interesting, and obviously it's going to be a road game and a real test for Georgia Tech. And even though we think Georgia Tech is pretty solid, you see that win where they barely beat Clemson. A week later, all of a sudden, Syracuse decimates Clemson, where it's like, I don't know. And then they barely beat a Colorado team by 7 that doesn't look that great, where it's like, I don't know. I still think Georgia Tech's really good, and I'm not taking that away from them just because Clemson played worse and worse. I'm still giving them the benefit of that win, but it's not like in high regard anymore, which it wasn't when they played them, where like they had already fallen so far, and now they're so far gone where it's like, man. So it does suck that that's not a quality win for Georgia Tech or LSU. So that's a bummer. But I think Haynes King and company are going to do well enough on the road to get the win at Wake Forest. I got them 27-17. Then we had Utah State going on the road at number 18 Vanderbilt. Now, Vanderbilt is a really interesting team, especially in the SEC, where it's like, I feel like they understand that they can't really slip up because they only gave them that number 18 ranking because of the dominant win against South Carolina, which is very deserved, but they probably should be higher, where it's like they're one of those SEC teams, doesn't really get the benefit of the doubt, and they know they can't really slip up. Because, I mean, you look at a team like Alabama that got embarrassed, and they're ranked above this Vanderbilt team. That blew out a South Carolina team that the AP poll said was the number 11 team. Now, I didn't agree that they were number 11, but it's like, man, like Vanderbilt blew them out. So that Vanderbilt win, still very impressive, and you saw how Missouri struggled with South Carolina, and I know they won, but like, talk about a Vanderbilt team that just decimated them, where it's like, man. So, yeah, I like Vanderbilt at home, and I think they really understand that they can't really slip up. We saw Utah State take on Texas A&M, and they didn't do that bad, but A&M did pretty solid in that one, and I think it's going to be a very similar story here. I got Vanderbilt 37-20. Then we had Auburn going on the road at number 9 Texas A&M, and honestly, this one could really be a ranked matchup. Unfortunately, it's not. Auburn lost to Oklahoma very close on the road, very tough environment, and all of a sudden they're unranked, where it's like, man, that's like a good loss, but they didn't have them that high to begin with, where they started to creep them in a few weeks ago. They got highest, I think, 21 or 22 when they played Oklahoma, and now we'll see if they end up creeping back into that top 25. They are still, for me, but not the AP poll. I think they're wanting to see some more out of them. And this one's going to be interesting because, I mean, you look at a guy like Reed on Texas A&M, you do not want to tackle him. You don't want to deal with his mobility, combining that with his passing ability. It's like when he gets outside of the pocket, it's really tricky. And, I mean, that guy, he's really great. And, I mean, we saw that Notre Dame game where Texas A&M played Notre Dame and they needed a touchdown. It was 4th down. And he heaves it to the end zone and throws a beautiful ball to his tight end, and they end up winning with an extra point where it's like, that guy's really good, and he can perform under a lot of pressure. And he's home where it's like, I don't know, but Auburn, they're very hungry, and after what happened last week against Oklahoma, they know they can't slip up. They know they have to take care of business. And I'm not saying that lightly because this is a really great Texas A&M team, but like Jackson Arnold, Auburn, they understand how important it is to win this game. I mean, after losing to Oklahoma, this is so important. If you lose twice in a row as you start your SEC schedule, you're not going to get much respect in the rankings. And, I mean, I do get it. Because, I mean, we talk about Notre Dame losing twice. I'm saying, yeah, they should be unranked. I get it. Where it's like Auburn's got to start winning some of these matchup games. And I know they're unranked, and Texas A&M's a top 10 team right now. But I know Auburn's unranked, but they're not that far away. And I like the upset here. I smell it. I smell Auburn. 24-20. I got Auburn. I really like this Auburn team, and I feel like they're going to be hungry, and they're going to see that they stripped their number, and they're going to be like, really? And they're going to go take Texas A&M's number. I think that's what's going to happen. I got Auburn on the road, 24-20. Then we had number 1 Ohio State going on the road at Washington. Now, this one is very interesting. Washington is unranked, but like they are so close. And I know they didn't get a vote in the AP poll, which is really ridiculous, but they're right on the cusp of that top 25, and honestly could be in. Like, when a team like Illinois got embarrassed like that and is still ranked, what excuse do you have for not ranking Washington? You don't. You don't. That's all it is. And Ohio State is a great team. And, I mean, Julian Sayin really starting to settle in. And, I mean, he's got great talent. I mean, Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith are your top 2 receivers. I think you'd have success, right? That's a very nice place to play. And not taking anything away from him. I'm just saying, like, makes it really easy when you got 2 Lamborghinis on the outside. That's all I'm saying. Where it's like, this is going to be tricky. Washington hasn't lost a game at home in a while. I think it's like 2021 or 22. They have the second longest streak of winning at home, only second to Georgia, where it's like, man, this could be really interesting, and it's a road test for Ohio State, and they haven't really had that, where you saw week 1, that Julian Sayin versus Arch Manning, Texas-Ohio State battle, where you saw how Arch Manning struggled on the road. You saw the very next week where Michigan played Oklahoma, and Bryce Underwood, the quarterback for Michigan, really struggled going into that road test where it's like, man, like it's really tricky for these freshman QBs or like these new starting QBs to go in those types of environments. And Washington is a really underrated place to play. That is tough. To go into Seattle, to go into that environment, to go into the dog pound, like that's really tricky. I'm not, they might not call it that, but the Husky Stadium, the fans are really showing out there. And this really did feel like a rebound year where it's like last year was rough after making the title, but we expected that. They lost their coach, their quarterback, all their receivers, their running back. I mean, they got gutted in the offseason, but now they're back with Jed Fish, who they got from Arizona. Now they're back, and now they're hosting Ohio State, and I don't know. I'd like to say they pull off the upset, but it just feels like so far away where it's like I think they could be like number 23, 24, 25 in the country, whatever it is, but Ohio State is at the top. So as much as I'd like to say they win at home, I can't. I got Ohio State 20-17. Would not be surprised if it's close. And if it is, like I hope they give Washington respect. If Washington plays close and they're not ranked, that's absurd. Because what excuse do you have for how high you have Texas when their best achievement is playing close with Ohio State? Which they didn't even really if you watched the game. So honestly, Washington, if they play decent against Ohio State, no excuse for them to not get a vote. There's no excuse for them not to get a vote now, but like if they prove themselves, play decent against Ohio State, yeah. Well, you saw what happened with Tennessee. They were at 15. They proved themselves against Georgia and didn't drop at all. Where it's like, I don't know. If Washington proves themselves and does decent against Ohio State, they got to at least get a vote, right? We're waiting for the respect for Washington. Hopefully that happens this week. I don't think they'll win. That would be crazy if they won. But I got Ohio State on the road 20-17. All right, then we had another SEC matchup that also could really be our ranked matchup, where we have number 15 Tennessee going on the road at Mississippi State. This is really tricky, and I know Tennessee's ranked 15th, but like Mississippi State's unranked, and they should be a lot higher. And you'll see when I get into my top 25, they should not be this low. They should not be unranked. they're still receiving votes, but like the fact that they're not in there is atrocious, where it's like, it's honestly silly. And once again, we go back to how is Illinois still sitting there when we have a team like Mississippi State that's competing the way they are, that's done what they've done, and they haven't gotten embarrassed to that sort of level where it's like they really should be ranked, where this really should be a ranked matchup. So don't let the rankings like fool you where it's like you see the number next to Tennessee, don't see it against Mississippi State. This gap is a lot more narrow than it appears. Same thing with Ohio State and Washington. You see that number one and you see nothing next to Washington, you think it's like so crazy and wide open. It's like, well, it's actually a lot closer than you would think. Same thing with Auburn, Texas A&M, where like the rankings can kind of be deceiving in that way. So that can get confusing, where it's like this is actually a matchup of top 20 teams, honestly. Tennessee and Mississippi State, it 100% is. Let's look at what Tennessee has done. So they went and played Georgia, and Joey Aguilar played phenomenal, and they ended up losing that game close, but Tennessee did very solid. Outside of that, haven't really played too many people like impressive, but still, Tennessee's done very solid for themselves. But then you look at what Mississippi State's done, and they played Arizona State, who was number 11 in the country at the time, and they beat them 24-20. Very impressive win, and I keep talking about where it's like they had such a great impressive win against the number 11 team, and we're still waiting for them to get ranked, where it's like you saw Vanderbilt beat the number 11 team in South Carolina, and they're sitting at 18. It's like, I know they blew them out. I know that was more impressive, but isn't that like maybe even less because it's like, man, South Carolina was maybe just a pretender, but then it's like, oh, maybe Mississippi State's just really good. I still think Vanderbilt's really good. I'm not trying to take anything away from them, but it's like not even a vote, not even a top 25 spot for Mississippi State. I don't get it. And then let's look at their resume because they beat Arizona State. Look what Arizona State's done. I mean, they beat Baylor, right? That was a tough win on the road. That's Auburn's best win, by the way, and that's what got them ranked. And then at the time of this recording, they actually just beat TCU, a ranked team, 27-24. That makes Mississippi State's resume so much better where it's like, where are they in the rankings? Where are they? It's ridiculous. Honestly, I don't understand. And I mean, they really should be. So this game, it really is a lot closer where it's like, man, you think about that, and they're at home? That's the thing. It's like, man, it really is a lot closer than you'd think. And Shopping has been an incredible QB for them, Blake Shopping. So honestly, I like Mississippi State here. Tennessee has shown their defensive vulnerabilities against Georgia. I think Mississippi State is good enough to exploit that. Now, when you talk about Tennessee's offense, I think it's going to be tricky, but Mississippi State's at home. They should not be unranked. They really shouldn't. This is a top 20 matchup. And I think Mississippi State's going to come in hungry. They're at home. They're going to bring in Tennessee, and I think they're going to win 31-29. Then we had Arizona going on the road at number 14, Iowa State. Now, this one is a very interesting game. Arizona's looked very solid, and Iowa State looked like they were solid. They beat Kansas State and Farmageddon in Ireland. Very impressive at the time. Then they hosted Iowa and was able to win on a last-second field goal. But it's like, man, the way that Kansas State's fallen off and the way that Iowa State played against Arkansas State, it's like, man, how good is Iowa State? Do we know? Well, here's a great test. Arizona is a great opponent in the Big 12. And I know they're not ranked, but this is a great chance for Iowa State to get back on track and kind of refigure themselves out because they've kind of looked iffy, especially against Arkansas State. So this one's going to be very interesting in Arizona. I mean, they look really solid. They haven't lost yet, but Iowa State's hosting this one. They got to get back on track. They got to figure this out because if they keep playing like they did against Arkansas State, that is not flying against Arizona. It's just not. Arkansas State's not great. Arkansas, who's lost a lot already, blew out Arkansas State. And I don't say blew out like too crazy where it's like it wasn't that crazy, but it's like they didn't have problems with them. Iowa State did. They were tied in the fourth quarter. That's not right. They only won the game by 8 points. So I go Iowa State here, but very hesitantly. They really got to figure this out. I got them 28-25, but definitely would not be surprised if Arizona went on the road and stole this one. Then we had number 25 BYU going on the road at Colorado. This one could be interesting. BYU just snuck into the rankings for the first time in Colorado. Well, since losing Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter, all those guys, they still have Deion Sanders as the head coach, but it hasn't been the same, obviously. And we expected a fall off, but not great. And against the BYU team that beat them in their bowl, honestly, I think BYU has a solid chance here. And I mean, going on the road is tricky. And Deion Sanders, he's going to get those guys ready, but I do like BYU here, but kind of hesitantly. There's another one. It's like they're ranked, but I don't know. And against Colorado, I feel like this is another instance where you see that number and you think there's crazy separation, but I don't know. I think BYU gets the job done on the road, 33-24, but once again, wouldn't be too surprised if Colorado found a way to win that one. And then after all of those great games that I just went to, then we have UMass going on the road at number 20 Missouri. Wow. And that just kind of ruins it where it's like, wow. I'm still glad that we have all those great games, but it's like UMass, really? Where it's like Missouri, like they've had games where they played Kansas and they played South Carolina. It's like, if that game was this week, then the week would really be perfect, especially for the ranked teams, where it's like, that sucks, but that's all right. And number 20 Missouri, they're going to win by a lot. This is a UMass team that we've seen get blown out by pretty much everybody. Iowa throttled them. Think about what Missouri's going to do. I got them reserved 41-6, but this could be a lot worse. So, it's just kind of unfortunate where it's like, they're going to win, but it's UMass where it's like, man, could be a dud of a game. We'll see what happens. But I got Missouri in that one very, very comfortably. I could have even gone higher, but Missouri is going to take care of business at home. And just when we thought that this week was already spectacular, I haven't even got into one ranked matchup. There were 3 games on there that could be. There's in a hypothetical sense, there's 7 ranked games on this schedule. You could even say more because, a lot of these teams could be ranked matchups where it's like, man, just the ones that actually count, it's 4, but there's so many great games this week, and I really can't wait for Saturday. It can't come soon enough, and I still haven't even gotten to the ranked matchups. That's the craziest part. So we're going to have number 21 USC going on the road at number 23 Illinois. Now, we thought this one was going to be very interesting. USC started creeping in the top 20. Illinois started creeping in the top 10. But turns out Illinois, not great, apparently. They got throttled by Indiana. I know it was on the road, but 53 points, very inexcusable for me. They only put up 10 points. They let up 63. The quarterback for Indiana, Mendoza, did whatever he wanted. He had his way with the Illinois defense. That's what's really scary. Where it's like, man, I know they're home now, but USC and Jerome Maava, Lincoln Riley, they're doing great things out in the Bay Area where it's like, yikes. I don't know how this is going to go for Illinois. And I know they're home, and maybe they'll come back with a vengeance and come back hungry, but I really can't say that. I can't say that I think Illinois will win, and believe it. I got USC 38-28 on the road. Then we had number 4 LSU going on the road at number 13 Ole Miss. Now this one is very interesting. And one of the big stories about this is that Ole Miss's head coach, Lane Kiffin, his daughter, Landry Kiffin, is dating one of LSU's linebackers. That's honestly the funniest thing I've read all week. That's so funny. And I don't know if you saw that, but Landry Kiffin, Ole Miss coach, his daughter, had posted a picture of their relationship, and Lane Kiffin commented, "Take the over for this game." It was it's so funny, where it's I think it's just jokes, but you wonder if that adds a little motivation. But I digress. It's just something funny about this game where it's man, Brian Kelly and LSU, their offense has struggled. Famously, a lot of you have probably seen the post-game interview where Kelly really snapped at a reporter, calling him spoiled, just because he said, hey, you guys couldn't really run the ball. It's you really couldn't. He couldn't handle the truth, I suppose. But, yeah, LSU struggling on offense. And number 4, that's a joke to me. I don't think they're number 4. They haven't played like that. And their best wins against Clemson, where they barely won on the road, but it's Clemson might just be bad. I don't know. I hate to tell you, but that win's not great anymore. I'm sorry, LSU, it's not. So going on the road at a number 13 Ole Miss team. Now, Ole Miss has kind of been fraudulent as well, where they barely won 2 weeks in a row against Kentucky and Arkansas, where it's I don't know. But then last week, we kind of thought they were on upset alert, and then they ended up just blowing out Tulane. It wasn't even close. Lane Kiffin was doing, they were dunking on the sideline. They were dunking. He was throwing assists. He was bouncing up, and then his players were dunking. During the game. It's that's how much they were winning, where it's geez. That's the word I was looking for. He was alley-ooping with his guys while the game was still going on. Crazy disrespectful. Where it's you see a game like this, and they're hosting LSU. I don't have faith in LSU. They were supposed to be better on offense. Newsmeyer was supposed to be better. And they finally fixed the defense, but now the coin's flipped. And now the offense is struggling. So I like Ole Miss at home, 20-17. Wouldn't be surprised if LSU wins, obviously, like so many on this list. They could really go either way, but I like Ole Miss at home. All right, next we had Oregon going on the road at number 3 Penn State. And, I didn't say it. Oregon's number 6 in the country. This is going to be really interesting. It's Penn State's wideout. Now I'm getting into the 7:30 window. This game is huge. And, I mean, huge in the Big Ten where it's like, who's going to take that number 2 spot? Who's going to jump up into the contenders tier with Ohio State? That's really what this is. This is the separator. And, I mean, Penn State, they're pretty good in wideouts. They haven't lost since 2018, I believe. But what they're bad at is matchup games. Historically bad. Like, everyone knows Penn State is bad in these games. It's like, when's the last time they beat Ohio State or Michigan when they were both tightly ranked opponents? They've lost against so many top 10 teams over the past years. They lost to an Iowa team that was number 3 or 4 in the country when Iowa was a fraud. A few weeks later, they got beat by 20 points against Purdue. And I'm an Iowa fan, so I remember it vividly, where it's like, even when like Iowa was a fraud, they still beat Penn State. Where it's like, Penn State, historically bad against top 10 teams, and I can't say with confidence that that's going to stop. I mean, I like Drew Aller, and I mean, James Franklin, I mean, he's a good coach, but I mean, when the lights are the brightest, it's not good. And then you're talking about an Oregon team that is so well coached by Dan Lanning, and they've got so many great players, and I know this is kind of Dante Moore's like first real test, especially on the road, not only at Oregon, but I mean, he only had that first season at UCLA. That was a few years ago, and then he sat behind Dylan Gabriel last year. It's like the fact that I'm more confident in them going on the road with their quarterback that hasn't done like that much of like this type of experience, and especially a wideout. The fact that I have more confidence in them than Penn State at home under their like most prestigious and hyped crowd in the whiteout, where it's like that really speaks volumes. Where it's like, I can't trust Penn State. I really can't. Hey, prove me wrong, Penn State. Win this game. Once they win a matchup game, then I'll start feeling better about them. It's like number 3 in the country. That feels like a joke to me. That's just a joke. That's a flat out lie. Where it's like, what have they done? I don't get it. I really don't. Because you're saying that if they play those top 10 teams, they'd win? Because they historically do not do that. They don't. Even if they're one of the top teams in the league, they don't win those games. So that's what I'm saying. Penn State proved me wrong. But until they do, I can't. I can't believe that they're going to win this game. I'm sorry. I got Oregon 30-23, but I mean, Penn State, the urgency is here. They have to win this game. They really do. And I know it's like, oh, it's still early in their season. Oh, it's a tough opponent, but it's like they're historically bad in these games. They need to shut down that noise. They really do. So if they lose this game, that's bad news for Penn State, and I think that's what's going to happen. I got Oregon on the road 30-23, but another one where I could see going either way, but it's like Penn State's not good in these games. So until they show that they can be, I can't pick them. I got Oregon on the road. Then we had yet another huge matchup in the SEC. We're going to have number 17 Alabama going on the road at number 5 Georgia. This is a really huge game for both of them. I mean, this is a huge rivalry, obviously, but they haven't played in Athens, in Georgia, in a while. And, I mean, it's one of those deals where it's like, I know Alabama won last year, but it's like, we could talk about Kalen DeBoer against Kirby Smart all day. We could talk about Ty Simpson squaring off against Gunnar Stockton. We could talk about those types of things, those types of matchups. Oh, their defense. Oh, it's a rivalry. But it's like, the facts are that, like, Georgia has won the most games in a row at home. No one's close. Washington is behind, but it's like, they're behind, but like a decent bit, like by a few years. Where it's like, that's how dominant Georgia is at home. And Alabama, especially under Kalen DeBoer, is historically bad on the road. Historically. Last year, after getting that number 1 ranking, they go on the road at Vanderbilt and end up losing in a relatively close shootout, but it's like, it's Vanderbilt. And I know they're good this year, but it's like last year they weren't great, where it's like, that's kind of embarrassing. And then they went on the road at Oklahoma, and I don't know if you guys saw this game. Alabama played one of the grossest performances that I've ever seen them play, and especially under Kalen DeBoer. I mean, in the list of like their worst games, it has to be up there. Where it's like Alabama wasn't even great last year, like they are this year. I know they were fairly decent, but I believe they were like 6-6 when they lost to them, and it's not like it was close. Completely uninspiring road team going off against a team that is historically great at home, especially in recent memory. Where it's like, man, and all these losses that Georgia has had against Alabama, it's been in neutral sites, and it's been at Bama, where it's like, now that it's in Athens, I can't pick against Kirby Smart and the Dogs at home. Sick 'em. Whoa. Pat McAfee, yeah. I can't. I really can't. Georgia at home has been incredible. And Alabama's looked suspect this year already, but I would have picked them anyway because Alabama is horrendous on the road. And now they're going to Athens against Georgia. And I really just can't say that I think that they'll win that game. I can't. If they do, that's great, but I just can't trust it. I can't. I got Georgia 34-24, but once again, wouldn't be too surprised, but it's like Alabama's not great on the road. Georgia is historically elite at home, where it's like, that's separated from me. So I got to go number 5 Georgia. And that went 34-24. All right, let's get into the buzzsaw where I make picks based on raw saw instincts. So let's get into it. Been doing actually pretty solid. Got back on track this week, and let's see how great I'll do this week because I'm feeling great about a lot of these games. And usually the buzzsaw does a lot better than my regular picks, so that's pretty crazy. So Rutgers on the road against Minnesota. I think Rutgers got that. They played pretty good against Iowa. Duke on the road against Syracuse. I'll take Syracuse at home. I think Louisville's going to be Pittsburgh on the road. Cincinnati at Kansas. I think Kansas take care of business. UCF on Kansas State. Kansas State looks rough. What happened? I'm going to take UCF there. South Alabama at North Texas. North Texas, I mean, they're 4-0. Kind of fraudulent. Had a couple of overtime games, but I'll take North Texas there. Bowling Green at Ohio. Ohio looks solid. They barely lost to Rutgers. I'll take Ohio there. Then Eastern Michigan on the road against Central Michigan. Central Michigan looked solid last week. I got to take them. Georgia Southern on the road against James Madison. James Madison, I mean, he wrote the Constitution. You got to respect the man. I'll take them. Arkansas State on the road at UL Monroe. This one's tricky. I like Arkansas State on the road for some reason. I don't know why, but I like Arkansas State there. Then UCLA at Northwestern. Oh, my gosh. Talk about the toilet bowl of the Big Ten. Such poverty. Just the scraps. I think Northwestern wins at home. They played fairly decent against Oregon, but it's like, both need to be relegated immediately to the Mountain West. Then we had California at Boston College. California we thought was good, and then they just got annihilated this week for no reason. I'll take Boston College at home. And then Baylor on the road at Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State just fired their coach 20 years. Give me Baylor. Utah on the road at West Virginia. I'll go Utah. I think Utah gets back on track. UConn at Buffalo. I got a soft spot for Buffalo every week. Give me Buffalo. San Diego State at Northern Illinois. I'll go Northern Illinois for some reason. Rice on the road at Navy. This one's tricky. Both players in the American, but Navy's looked really solid. I'll take Navy. Then Akron at Toledo. Holy Toledo, as the great Kevin Harlan said. So that's why I'm picking Toledo. No other reason. Then we had Lindenwood on the road at Miami, Ohio. I don't know. Miami, their counterpart in Florida, is doing pretty good. So give me Miami, Ohio, sure. New Mexico State against New Mexico. Huge battle for the sunny state. I don't know what they call New Mexico, but New Mexico State. I'll take New Mexico State. Hawaii on the road at Air Force. It's going to be tricky. Give me the Rainbow Warriors on the road. The Rainbow Warriors over the Pilots. Tulane on the road at Tulsa. Gonna be tricky, but give me the Green Wave. Give me Tulane. Middle Tennessee, the road at Kennesaw State. Give me Middle Tennessee, sure. Liberty on the road at Old Dominion. Old Dominion looks really solid. Give me Old Dominion. They played really great against Indiana. When you look at Indiana's schedule, they haven't struggled with anybody except Old Dominion. Then Rhode Island and Western Michigan. Give me Western Michigan. Virginia Tech on the road at NC State. NC State, they beat Virginia. Look, that win's looking better and better every week. Give me NC State. Then Jacksonville State on the road at Southern Miss. I like Southern Miss. Everything they got from Marshall, they played pretty good at Mississippi State, who should be a top 20 team. Give me Southern Miss. Then we got the Memphis Tigers going on the road at Florida Atlantic. Give me Memphis. Honestly, Memphis, you could make a really solid argument that they should be ranked, honestly. And then we got Washington State going on the road at Colorado State. This is going to be a Pac-12 matchup next year when Colorado State moves over there. I like Colorado State at home, though. San Jose State going on the road at Stanford. Stanford, I don't know. I'll take San Jose State on the road just because Stanford kind of looks rough. Appalachian State on the road at Boise State. I saw a highlight recently where Appalachian State blocked a Michigan field goal and won the game, and that is why I'm picking Appalachian State. Nothing to do with this team, but you know what? For some reason, I think that's going to come into play. Just you hear me out on this one. That's why Appalachian State beats Boise State on the road. And then Kentucky against South Carolina. I'll take South Carolina at home. Marshall on the road at Louisiana. Give me the Raging Cajuns, because that is a cool name. That doesn't get talked about enough. The Raging Cajuns, fire. Cajun fries are the best. So got to go with Louisiana. Louisiana Tech on the road at UTEP. UTEP played pretty good against Texas, and Louisiana Tech played pretty good against LSU. This is a tricky one. I'll take Louisiana Tech, though. All right, that's going to do the Ben Buzz. That's going to be it for this week, and we'll have to see how I did. I mean, I felt pretty good about a lot of these, and I mean, it's going to be really interesting, and it's really interesting comparing it week to week as I continue to do better on the Buzzsaw than my actual picks. So we'll see if that trend continues going forward. All right, and now once again, I'd like to get into my Ben Buzz Top 25. Now, there's been a lot of shakeups from the previous week, and first off, I kind of want to address 5 or so teams that were right there, and I really wanted to put in, but I didn't, where I felt like we really do need a top 30, where, I mean, teams like Washington, I mean, I really wanted to put Washington. They're like my number 26 right now. Maryland's really great. TCU looks odd. I mean, Arizona State should probably be ranked, where it's like, you know, those types of things where it's like there's so many teams that are just outside looking in where I honestly could have put them here, especially the bottom 5 where I'm like, a lot of this is kind of interchangeable, but this is kind of what I went with. I went with number 25. I went with Memphis, and that win against Arkansas, they really shouldn't have won that game, and the way they were able to rally in the fourth quarter and the way they were able to come back, it was impressive. And while I would like to put Washington here, even though they look dominant, even like those types of things, they haven't played anyone like super like impressive. Not to take anything away from Washington, I think that's a spectacular team, and if they play fairly decent against Ohio State, they will definitely be in my top 25. But it's like Memphis played a team very well and ended up winning against a team that barely lost to the number 13 team the previous week, where I'm like, I think Memphis is pretty solid. I know it's not like a great win, but it's like, that's not bad. And we had number 24. I moved USF up one spot where it's like the Bulls look really good, and they just dominated South Carolina State. And, I mean, I know they still have that Miami loss, and that's going to sting. But you'll see where I have Miami up on the list where it's like, that's not a bad loss. And you can't strip away their reputation and everything that they've done all year. And, I mean, last week was very impressive. And I think it was a really great get-back win that they needed to do. And as we've said on this program a lot, a great team responds greatly after they lose. And that's what South Florida did, dominating against South Carolina State. And I moved Alabama up a little bit as well. They're at 23. I could put them higher. I could put them lower. Whatever you think. Where like the Ultra Bama supporters are going to say they're top 15. The Ultra Bama haters going to say, why are they even on this list? Where I'm like, once again, I kind of fall in between where it's like that Florida State game was rough. I still think they're a pretty decent team, but I can't put them that high until they kind of prove themselves like other teams on this list. Then Auburn, I ended up moving just down a spot. I think it's pretty ridiculous to move them completely out because, I mean, that game against Oklahoma was incredible. They drove down and took the lead at the end of the game. They were up 17-16 in the fourth. I'm like, you'll see where I have Oklahoma, and now the AP poll, they have them at 7, where it's like, that's a great game. Like, they barely lost, and we'll see how they do this weekend. But, I mean, Auburn's kind of scary where it's like, to unrank them after they played that great, you slid them up there before they had done something. Then they did something. I know they lost, but they played really great, where you'll see in the AP poll, they had Tennessee at 15. This is a great example. Had Tennessee at 15 before that Georgia game. After Tennessee loses, they're just like, okay, you know what? You're pretty solid. We'll keep you at 15. Now Auburn barely loses, and they're completely out. Disgusting. It's honestly appalling. So I still have Auburn ranked. I did move them down a spot from the loss, but, you know, it's whatever. I have them at 22. And that's where USC kind of landed for me. I didn't have them in last week. They was just so congested towards the bottom half where they were kind of like Washington last week where I'm like, I want to put them in, but I'm running out of spots where I'm like, that's where I kind of ran into a wall last week. But USC, that game against Michigan State, very impressive against the team. That's not bad. I mean, that's a very solid coach. I mean, Childs, like, that Michigan State team's solid. And I mean, what they're doing with Maeva and Lincoln Riley, They're starting to run the ball better, where if you look at those Oklahoma teams, where I know the big story was Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, those big stars, Jalen Hurts, but they were consistently able to rush the ball well. Couldn't really do that in those years with Caleb Williams, where they're really starting to figure that out. And Lincoln Riley, it's really looking more and more like a Lincoln Riley offense. He's starting to really figure it out and going back to what he did before. So USC, that's where they slide at 21 for me, and I feel like they could go higher. What was that? They could go higher, but for now, they land at 21 for me. Then at number 20, I had Missouri. Now, Missouri's a really interesting team. I think they're pretty solid, but it's like, I don't know. But they've done pretty solid. They beat Kansas. That was pretty impressive. And then they beat a South Carolina team that was pretty hungry after getting absolutely embarrassed. So that win doesn't look as good now as we thought it would coming into the season, where it's like Vanderbilt just decimated South Carolina, where it's like, oh, you barely beat South Carolina. How impressive is that really? I still think it is, because South Carolina just really got mollywopped, and they came into this game with a lot of heart and a lot of pride, and they really needed to respond well, and Missouri shut that down. Once again, I kind of raised them up. I don't know. I still think they're pretty solid, but it's like, I don't know. We'll wait until they really play somebody, but South Carolina and Kansas, I know they're unranked, but those are two pretty solid wins, and it's kind of unfortunate for them that South Carolina win won't look as great now, but you know what? It was pretty solid, so I moved them up a couple spots. Then I had Michigan at number 19th, and the biggest reason is that we saw a lot of growth from Bryce Underwood, the QB, and just the whole team as a whole. But you go back to that game against Oklahoma a few weeks ago, where it's like they went on the road in a tough environment. Oklahoma, that's a tough place to play. And they went in there, and it didn't go that great. They ended up losing. I believe it was 13-24. Wasn't great. They didn't handle it very well, and he's a freshman. It was his first road start, and that's a tough place to play at Oklahoma. But you know what? He came back, and then he blew out a Central Michigan team, and then now he goes on the road against Nebraska, and this whole team did very well. And I know the score, it'll tell you that it was Michigan 30-27, but I mean, it wasn't that close, honestly. Nebraska ended up scoring late, and then they had a Hail Mary at the end of the first, where it's like, Michigan really played well. And on the road against a Nebraska team, they were hungry too. Nebraska's pretty solid. That's what people don't give credit. We're like, yeah, you barely beat Nebraska. It's like, it's tough to win on the road in the Big Ten. That's very evident. We saw what happened to Illinois. We saw how Rutgers was a really tough place to play for Iowa. I know SEC is the one that mainly gets talked about, where it's really tough to play on the road, but it's really tough to play on the road in the Big Ten too. And we saw that when Michigan went on the road against Nebraska. But you know what? Bryce Underwood showed a lot of growth, a lot of development, and played much better on the road, and was able to do more than enough to get his team this win. So I moved my Michigan up. I had them down, I think it was 22 or something. I had to move them up because it was pretty impressive for me. So Michigan lands at 19. Then I moved Mississippi State up to 18th, and they had a solid, dominant win over Northern Illinois. But it's like Mississippi State, it's like it wasn't like their win was super impressive, but it's like teams like Illinois ended up falling out, where I'm like, I really like this Mississippi State team. So they moved up to 18 for me, and I think it's really strange that they're not even ranked in the AP poll. That's what's really strange, because we see them sometimes, they give a lot of credit to Big Ten or SEC teams, where you see Illinois is still ranked. Alabama was still ranked when they lost, where it's like, where's that sort of respect for teams like Mississippi State? So they fall at 18 for me. They're still really solid, and we'll see what happens against Tennessee this weekend. Huge game, but they are at home, and are they the better team? I don't know. Tennessee's been pretty good, so we'll really have to see, but I think they deserve the 18th spot. Then this one might get controversial. I had Texas at 17. They've been really under-impressive. Because you look at that game against Ohio State. Ohio State was very reserved with their freshman quarterback. It was his first start. They didn't want him to throw away the game. And we had thought that kind of same thing against Arch for him, because he was on the road as his first big test, where it's haven't seen that sort of improvement we were expecting, where it's San Jose State was fine, but he had a pick, and then UTEP, it was ugly, where it's he shouldn't really be struggling, and then they just blew out Sam Houston, which, honestly, it's really, really strange. All these teams that they're scheduling, where it's yeah, you beat Sam Houston. It's not only are they group of five, but also they're not even, a good group of five team. It's not you were playing Memphis or South Florida, or Tulane, for that matter, like Ole Miss did, where it's, not really that impressive, where it's I don't feel great against Texas. Something's got to change. Something's got to change fast. So they're sliding at 17 for me. I really could have put them lower. I don't understand why the AP poll still thinks they're top 10. What on-field success tells you that? You're telling me that of Ohio State and Texas rematch, you're telling me it's close. I don't buy it. I got Texas at 17. We'll see. Maybe the stage is bad. Maybe Texas is actually great, but I'm saying at the moment, they're not top 10. They're not top 15. Where it's like, maybe they'll improve. I hope they do. Steve Sarkisian's a great coach. Arch Manning's got a lot of potential, but they're not there right now. And it shouldn't be weird to say that, because they're not. Then I had Iowa State at 16. Moved them up a little bit. Iowa State's a tricky team to rank, because they just had a bye week, and their last game was ugly against Arkansas State. If they play solid against Arizona this weekend, I'll move them up a little bit, but it's like, Iowa State, I don't know really what to do with them, because they didn't play that great last week, but they're at 16 for me. Then I had Ole Miss at number 15. I know they had them at 13, but they looked a little sloppy against Kentucky and Arkansas, so I had knocked them down to about 18 or something like that. Then they started playing better, and they had a really dominant win against Tulane, so I bumped them up some spots and bumped them up to 15. You'll see with the teams ahead of them. That's as far as I could really do without them proving themselves, but I'll say it right now. If they beat LSU, they will be in my top 10. That's for sure. If they beat LSU, I will move them up. But there's teams ahead of them that have either looked better or done more, and that's just kind of what it comes down to. Where you look at Tennessee, they really should have beat Georgia. I don't know how they gave that game away. And we'll see how that game goes with Mississippi State this weekend, but I like Tennessee going forward. We'll see how it works out for them. I think that's a good team, though. Then another SEC team in Vanderbilt. I think they deserve their respect. I think they're 13. They blew out South Carolina. That's what's not talked about. They blew them out. Blew the doors off of South Carolina. That was 11th at the time. And Missouri, I think they're a really solid team, but they only won by 9. And that's not shade at Missouri. Missouri controlled that game, and they deserved that win. But it's like the fact that Vanderbilt won the way they did speaks volumes. So I kind of slide them at 13. Is it too high? Is it too low? I don't know. That's kind of where I slide them, but we'll see how Vanderbilt does going forward. Then Georgia Tech at 12. Georgia Tech is another one that's difficult to rank because their best win is Clemson, who's off the face of the earth. Clemson's in the depths, so we'll really see how things go with Georgia Tech going forward. I have them at 12. I don't know. I'm not real sure about that anymore. I still feel like Georgia Tech's a great team, and I feel like they deserve number 12. But that's just one of the tricky ones to rank because it's like their best win, it is Clemson, where it's like Clemson's gone. We'll see if we hear from Clemson at some point, but they're bad. Then we had Texas Tech at number 11. This is one I really wanted to put them in the top 10, but you'll see with my top 10, it's really congested and really tough, where this is kind of like Washington, where it's like I really wanted to put them at the top 25, but I just couldn't fit them in there, where it's like there's so many great teams. Because I feel like in any other year, I have Texas Tech in the top 10. I do. Where it's like, man, I know their quarterback, Baron Morton, ended up kind of getting benched with the pick, but then their backup ended up coming in, doing really well. We'll see if he gets to start going forward, where it's like, man, Texas Tech looked good and probably the Big 12 favorite. Iowa State still seems solid, but it's like Iowa State kind of falling off the wagon. They haven't lost, though. That's the biggest thing, where it's like they haven't played themselves out of it too much because they haven't had that loss. We'll see if they beat Arizona. We'll see how Texas Tech does going forward, but I have Texas Tech at 11. Then this is how my top 10 really shakes out. So I got Penn State at 10, and this was tough. I had them a lot higher last week. Ended up just having to bump them all the way down to 10. Same thing with Oregon, where it's like whoever wins that game, I'm obviously going to bump up all the way. We'll see how far up they go, but it's like Penn State, once again, they haven't played anybody, but also they haven't looked great against their weaker schedule, where it's like, I don't know. When they play Oregon, it's going to be tricky. And Oregon has looked a lot better, and they blew out Oregon State. And then they had a very impressive win, starting Big Ten play against Northwestern. Not super impressive because it's Northwestern, and they couldn't stop the run too well, which Dan Lanning certainly wasn't happy about. Those are where those teams kind of lie for me because the teams ahead of them have done more. It's like next week, whoever wins that game, I will put up. Where it's like, you're telling me that they've done more, where it's like LSU, they kind of fall at 8. LSU's a tough one to rank for me because I really not sold on them. I mean, that Clemson win, once again, it gets worse and worse every week. Same thing for Georgia Tech, where I'm like, I don't know. And LSU, it's just really tricky. And I think that's why Ole Miss has a really great shot against them this weekend. Then I had Indiana at 7. And I almost wanted to put them higher. Indiana. They blew out a team so bad that it's no longer looked at as a quality win. The team they beat was ranked number 9th. As much as you want to demean that win, that is impressive. That is incredibly impressive. To beat a team in the top 10 so bad that now it's like, yeah, they haven't really played anybody. Yeah, they haven't really beat anybody. That's insane. They beat them that bad that it's not even looked at like that. I think that's the big thing where it's like 53 points, stunning. And I know they were at home, but it's like, that's kind of unheard of. Where I'm like, Indiana's just really good. And so the AP poll has them at 11, but I think they're better than that. I think they're number 7 for me. And if you watch that Indiana game, Mendoza, the new quarterback, he is really, really something. I mean, we'll see how he does going forward, but I mean, he throws the ball so beautifully, and they're so on point. There was a key one where he threw it to the left, like, corner of the end zone, and you could see the spiral. It's, like, so perfect. Mendoza looked great. I think he only incompleted 2 passes. Unheard of. Then I had Texas A&M at 6. Texas A&M still pretty solid. Reed, really good quarterback. And, I mean, that Notre Dame win still pretty impressive, and I've kind of slowly bumped them up as well. Texas A&M, I mean, they're really good, and that's where they kind of lie for me. And I know we're still coming off of that Notre Dame win, but, like, the AP poll still has them ranked. Like, they still looked at that as a pretty good win, where I'm like, I really do like Texas A&M. And we'll see how things go going forward, especially now that they're getting into SEC play. So we'll see how it goes forward for them. I have them at 6. Now, this is how my top 5 shakes out. So I have Oklahoma at 5, and Oklahoma's a really tricky team to rank. I honestly wanted to put them at 3, kind of, just because I feel like it's so impressive beating Auburn and then Michigan, who are now, in my eyes, 2 currently ranked teams. But in the AP poll, those are still ranked wins, just not current. But OU, it's just tough because the quarterback, who was kind of the Heisman frontrunner, John Mateer, injured his hand against Auburn. That's the really tricky thing. He injured his hand. And it was his throwing hand, no less, and he had to get surgery on it. We did hear good news, though, that the surgery went great, and, you know, he's only going to miss a month, so, you know, thoughts and prayers to John Mateer. I really hope he gets back on the field because he's been playing so phenomenal, where it's so sad, where it's like, man, that guy was having such a great season for Oklahoma, but luckily it's not as terrible as it looks because they have a bye week. That's huge. Then they play Penn State. Should be okay, but then here's the tricky thing. Then they play Red River. Very unlikely Mateer's ready for that. I would be surprised. He would be coming in a few weeks early. I would doubt it. But, I mean, I'm not putting it out of the question because he hurt his hand in the first quarter against Auburn, and he played the rest of the game. He led a touchdown drive in the fourth quarter that was incredibly key to winning. Where, like, I heard that, I was like, it was in the first quarter. I'm like, well, he still looked great. Where we'll see how he does post-surgery, but I'm worried he'd rush himself into that Red River rivalry against Texas, where I thought Oklahoma had that one kind of in the bag where you see how far down I had Texas, but now if John Mateer, I mean, I don't know if they beat Michigan without John Mateer. I don't think they do. I don't think they definitely don't beat Auburn without John Mateer. That's for sure. That's the thing. John Mateer, I mean, it's understated how instrumental he was to Oklahoma's success. And their next 4 slate where it's like they have a bye week and they have Penn State. So it's like they have a little bit of time for him to get healthy, but just sucks that he'll likely miss Red River. Then I had Florida State at number 4. They still feel pretty impressive in that Alabama win. You see where I have Alabama. AP poll had them at 14 at one point and then dropped them down to 17th post the loss, where it's like Florida State, I mean, that's still a really great win. And, I mean, no team has really done that against a team that's still getting that kind of respect, where it's like they housed them. And the score was definitely not evident how much of a blowout it was. And I've kind of just slowly moving them up as teams continue to lose, or I feel like they just kind of deserve to be ahead of. Then I had Georgia at 3. And I think it goes without saying that they're the SEC favorite. They're the reigning SEC champions, won 2 national championships a few years ago back-to-back, where it's like Georgia's really solid. And I think Gunnar Stockton, he's pretty good. I mean, he came in during that Texas-Georgia game in the SEC championship, and he won that game in overtime, where it's like Gunnar Stockton's pretty solid. We'll see how they do when they host Alabama. I like their chances. They win at home. Alabama doesn't really win on the road. So I like Bama on that one. I think they'll stay up high in the rankings. I had them at 3. And then, once again, I had Miami at 2. I really want to put Miami at 1. I just can't do it. Not yet. I mean, their win against Florida was incredible. It really was. And, I mean, They hosted them. It was a sloppy game in the rain. It was kind of wet. And eventually Miami pulled away where it's like they were the better team, and they found a way to win. Then that South Florida win where it's like not just how they won. Once again, it's about how dominant it was. Then that Notre Dame game where Notre Dame ended up creeping back in the game, ended up tying it. Carson Beck is able to lead them on a field goal drive, and then they make it, and then they win, where it's like Miami's resume is very impressive. And if we're talking purely resume, they probably should be ahead of Ohio State. I know this is probably a pretty boring take, but it's like Ohio State, they're the reigning national champions. They had that really dominant win against Texas where it's like, if their quarterback, if that's not his first start ever, if he's not a freshman, I think they win that game by a lot more than they did. They were very reserved. You could tell. Where it's like that defense was able to do plenty to win the game. Where it's like Ohio State's pretty scary. And we'll see what happens once they get into that trickier schedule. And when they go on the road to face Washington, it's going to be very tricky. But that's how my top 25 shakes out. And there was a lot of teams I kind of wanted to put in there. It's going to be really tricky, but this is what's crazy is that there's so many ranked matchups, and not just ranked matchups, so many great matchups across the board. This top 25 is going to change dramatically. Like when we look at this one compared to next week, it's going to be flipped on its head probably in a lot of aspects. So we'll see, and I can't wait to make another one next week. That's going to do it for this week's prediction video. And I mean, all the game picks, I mean, we've got a really great slate. I mean, it's honestly insane. It's going to be an epic Saturday. And I mean, tons of great games. The Buzzsaw, that was great. Really happy to continue to give you guys my top 25 because been really happy about that. And as you all know, if you listen to the show, very much disagree and dislike the AP poll. It's weird that we're still giving it so much attention because it is bad. So yeah, I really appreciate you all for tuning in because you didn't have to, and you did. So that I really appreciate that. And if you're hearing this, I mean, you made it to the end of the video. So I really appreciate that. And I know that the views have kind of like tapered off and things aren't just getting as much traction as they were towards the start, and that's fine. It doesn't bother me. It's whatever. And just anyone who tunes in, I appreciate you guys, and I just have enough enjoyment just making these where it's like I appreciate it. But yeah, college football, I really love talking about it, and I know it doesn't do too well with algorithms, but it's all right. I really do get a lot of enjoyment making these, and I mean, college football, it really is just so great, where it's just really awesome to just talk about college football, because I really love to do that. As you could probably guess, I mean, I just rattled off for like 40 minutes about this sport, where it's like, it really is great. We really do have a great weekend slate, and it's going to be really great. And yeah, I mean, I don't really ask you guys to like and subscribe, but yeah, I probably should start saying that. So, feel free to like and subscribe. It's all down there. We post weekly, a lot of predictions, a lot of reaction videos. Try to do podcast-style content with a lot of great things coming in the future. So that's kind of what we do here, and I appreciate you all for tuning in. And it's really going to be a great Saturday. It's going to be incredible. College football, man. It's going to be probably the best weekend of college football, and it's going to be a really incredible Saturday. This is the Ben Buzz, starring Benny King. And thanks for tuning in.